Welcome back to another episode, you guys. You have Lauren and I here today where we are going to give you a catch-up podcast on past guests, future guests, what's to come on the podcast. We talk about my home renovation that went a little south and when her kids got COVID and when I got COVID. We're going to talk about those experiences and how they differed. I did just want to put a little disclaimer out there that we are very aware that this virus is real and is affecting people very differently, some more severely than others, and our hearts do go out to those families. We just only wanted to speak about our experiences only. So with that being said, here is the podcast and I hope you enjoy. All right, guys, we are back for another episode with me and Lauren. We're doing this via Zoom again just because I don't know if y'all listened to 2 weeks ago, because by the time y'all listen to this, it'll be 2 weeks past our wine podcast. And we were trying to do a little bit different format where we were going to kind of introduce our guests after we had done the podcast, if that makes sense. So I woke up that morning that we were planning to record with a sore throat and sick and sniffly. And if y'all listen to that podcast, I said, I do not have COVID. But later that day, I continued to get worse. I went and tested, and of course, I did have COVID. So I'm so glad that me and Lauren Zoomed during that because I did not want to give her COVID. But we are now, I think, a week and a half past that. So we're going to Zoom for one more week just because I'm super, we'll talk about the podcast, but I'm just weird about, I feel like I'm a walking virus right now. So I feel like I'm just a walking contagious virus. So we're just going to give it a full 14 days. I know they say 10 and you're not contagious anymore, which today is day 10, but I'm just giving it a full 14. So yeah, so that's what this is just kind of a catch up podcast. We're just going to catch everyone up on what we've been doing since our scheduling is kind of crazy. And obviously I got COVID. So Lauren, what have you been up to in these past couple of weeks that I haven't seen you?
Not a whole lot, really. It feels like anyway. It's like both of my kids are finally back in school. So that's been a huge help. Yeah. So just surviving the everyday.
So Lauren's kids, I don't know. I think we did a catch up podcast that we didn't post because I forgot to post it before the wine podcast, which we talked a little bit about. So obviously we have to talk about that because no one heard that podcast. But Lauren's kids, was it just one of them that got COVID?
It was Kaiser that tested positive and Liesel tested negative.
Yeah. So I kind of want to talk about your experience with COVID and then my experience with COVID. I know everyone's tired of hearing it, but just coming from a medical perspective and then someone who, I see it in other patients, but then got it myself. I kind of just want to explain my symptoms and what I went through. But yeah, so your kid got COVID and the rules for your other child's school, explain all that to us.
Okay. So we went to a birthday party and we've tried to do a good job of staying within our bubble. And like we hadn't seen these friends in over a year. And then a few days later, we get a text that someone at the party had tested positive and our kids weren't, like Liesel said she had a sore throat the next morning. So we were like, okay, we're going to go have them tested. I'm not going to send them into school just, out of respect. So we go, they get tested, which was not fun at all. Having to hold her down was awful.
And how old is Liesel for the listeners?
4, yeah. Kaiser's 10. But Kaiser tested positive and then Liesel, she tested negative for COVID, but then she had strep.
Okay.
So it was like 2 kids sick at the same time with different things.
Yeah.
So then we had to call everyone and let everyone know that we had been around, which was super fun. And so Kaiser had to be out of school for 10 days. And then Liesel, her preschool, she had to be out for 24.
And because I was like blown away when you told me that she had to be out of school for 24 days when the incubation period is 10. So explain what they meant by her being out for 24 days.
So their reasoning is because she tested negative, that she could still catch it by the end of his 10 days. So then you have the 14 plus the 10. So that way, if she did catch it at the day 10, then she could still quarantine for the 14 days after going back. Now, mind you, she had only gone to school for 2 days.
So this is her first time ever in school.
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
She does preschool. But yeah, you make it through the entire summer, and then she goes back for 2 days, and then legit stays home for another month. So yeah.
So that was fun.
So fun.
But you and your husband never caught COVID?
Not that we're aware of. We didn't go get tested. The pediatrician that we saw basically said, act as though you have it, quarantine. But Kaiser didn't even have symptoms. So
he was just asymptomatic, tested positive because your daughter woke up with a sore throat.
Who had strep.
So it's like, this virus doesn't make any sense because some people are asymptomatic and then some people get really sick and then some people are that in between. And so my symptoms kind of were vague as well, like initially. So I don't know when my day 0 was. That's why I'm kind of going off of the day I tested positive, because I don't know like exactly when I contracted the virus. It's probably honestly been 3 weeks by now, because 2 weeks ago, I remember just being so tired, and I had messaged my personal trainer. I had messaged my nutrition coach, and I was like, guys, I'm just tired. I'm working a lot because, I work in an ER. It's COVID. It's rampant. I was picking up extra shifts because we're short staffed. And I was just like, I'm just so tired. I think I just need a week off from the gym, which, if you know me, that I will go to the gym no matter what. Like, I'm just like,
come hell or high water.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to the gym, but I was like, I can't do it. I was like, I can't wake up. I'm tired. So probably that should have been my telltale sign of like, you're really fatigued. Now, granted, backstory, I have an autoimmune disease. I have Hashimoto's, which affects my thyroid. So I'm typically fatigued all the time anyways. And I've kind of just gotten used to it. Like, I know my normal fatigue, but this was way above and beyond. And I was drinking so much coffee from Starbucks. I'm talking about, it's embarrassing how much I was drinking and how much I was spending a month at Starbucks. But so then last Monday, I started sneezing, but I always get sinus infections this time of year. Plus in Alabama, this time of year, it's like cold, hot. Like, it's 55 one day and then it's 90 degrees the next day. So I was sneezing, didn't think anything about it, felt fine. And then last Wednesday, me and a friend were working out in triage, and I had a Trenta, which, if you don't know, is a 30-ounce coffee from Starbucks. I'd already had that on my way to work. And then I got there and I was like, do you want to go get another coffee? And she was like, Shauna, you just had 30 ounces of coffee. And I said, yeah, but I'm really tired. I was like, I don't know why I'm so tired. And so we went and got a venti coffee, which is 26 ounces of coffee. So then I had 56 ounces of cold brew, which is way more caffeine than just a regular coffee. So we're sitting at work. She's drinking her coffee. I'm drinking my coffee. And I was like, oh God, I'm having chest pain.
Well, no shit.
She was like, Jonna, it might be time to back off the coffee. So we honestly thought the chest pain was coffee. Didn't think anything of it. Was short of breath when I was walking, and I was just like, well, my heart's racing from the coffee.
Yeah,
I'm short of breath. And then same thing happened Thursday. I don't know if my mic just went out. I feel like it did. Did my mic just?
I can hear you.
Okay. So same thing happened Thursday. Didn't think anything of it. Well, one of the doctors had asked me to work at the fever and flu clinic because their nurse practitioner had gotten COVID. So I was like, sure, whatever, I'll work. I've been working extra. I go there on Friday, and I was a little tired, sniffly, but I thought again, sinuses. I really think my mic went out.
I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay. It's just weird. Maybe I'm just getting stuffed up again and I can't hear myself. Sorry about that, guys. But so Friday I was really cold at the fever and flu clinic, but it was really cold in there. Like, the air conditioner was set on like 50, and all the COVID patients, that should have been my telltale sign. All the COVID patients were like, it's really cold in here. So went home, was talking to my aunt on the phone and she was like, Johnny, you sound really congested. And I was like, yeah, it's just my sinuses. I was like, I get sinus infections all the time this year. Feel fine, whatever. Woke up Saturday, the day we were supposed to record. And I was like, I texted you and I was like, hey, I'm congested. I'm pretty sure it's just my sinuses, but enter at your own risk kind of thing. And you're like, no, I'm fine. And then literally it progressed that day. Like I remember texting you an hour later and being like, Lauren, my throat just started hurting. I don't think you should come over here. And so then we recorded and I sounded congested. I could hear it. And then, so rapidly after that, developed fever, got so cold, went and did a home test. It was definitely positive. So, and then Sunday, developed fever. I had a rough 4 days. It was like when my fever would not break, I thought I was going to die. And I mean, I'm a little dramatic anyway, but
no,
I was literally thought I was going to die. And then by Tuesday, I started feeling a little better, but getting short of breath when I walked or getting fatigue. And then I've just had a lingering headache every day since then. But that could also be the fact that I'm trying to wean my 60 ounces of coffee from Starbucks. So I'm down to 12 ounces of coffee. So that's
progress.
My bank account thanks me. So yeah, I got COVID and I honestly, I don't know if I'm just naive, but I thought that would not happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I just thought, I'm young, I'm healthy, but I think just having my autoimmune disease in general, I don't know, because a lot of my friends and coworkers got it, but they were like, oh yeah, it was just a couple of days of cold and flu symptoms. I was like, no, I was on the couch, thought I was dying. Like,
yeah,
I was like,
if that could have like affected you differently.
Yeah. And then of course I start panicking when I'm getting short of breath walking. I'm like, oh my God, I have a blood clot. I'm going to die. It's like, but then again, I was trying not to worry anybody because everyone kept asking me like, how are you doing? I was like, I'm fine. It's fine. No, I'm over here dying.
It wasn't fine.
At one point I was like, I might have to go to the ER. I cannot get this temperature down. Like taking Tylenol, ibuprofen, it stayed 102.6. I was under 5 blankets at one point with like a sweatsuit on. Like my bones were cold. And then the next point I was pouring sweat, dying naked on the couch. And I was like, what is going on?
Why did you not like call me?
Well, because no one can come in.
But still.
It was fine. It was only like 3 or 4 days of it. And then I'm fine. We're fine. But I did lose, I lost my taste and smell, which is probably the worst thing in the world. I think it's like 50% back, but I really don't know. It's I wanted to talk about that. It's the weirdest thing. So it's like, I was already sick for like a few days, could taste and smell everything. And then Monday morning, when I'm starting to feel better, makes no sense. I try to drink my coffee at home and I'm like, this tastes like hot water. Couldn't smell it. I went and got my essential oils that I have here, like the peppermint one, that stuck it right in my nostril. Couldn't smell it. I was like, this is so weird. So I could only taste like sweet things. Like, and it wasn't
I've heard that.
Yeah. But it wasn't that I could taste like chocolate's chocolate. It was just that it tasted sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I make these pancakes typically in the morning out of oatmeal and I put stevia in it to sweeten them. So I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to use the stevia. I'm not, because I typically also drink black coffee with stevia in it. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to put stevia in anything because I can't taste anything, right? I was like, I'll just get off these artificial sweeteners. Well, I'm mixing my pancakes and I go to taste it like, why? I don't know, but I go to taste it and I'm like, oh, this is so gross, but I couldn't taste it, but my brain was like, this is nasty.
Yeah.
And so then when I also am drinking my black coffee with no stevia in it, even though it tastes like hot water, I'm like, this is bitter and it's gross. Can't taste it. Has no taste, but my brain is telling me that this doesn't taste right.
So my neighbor's daughter, I think she actually tested positive on her 16th birthday. Yeah, I felt so bad. But she lost her taste as well. And they were talking about, I can't remember if it was them or someone else, but talking about how you can taste that it's sweet. You can't taste what it is, but you can taste that it's sweet.
Yeah, it's
which
so
I
weird.
found fascinating.
It's super weird. And then, like, of course, I have like this leftover chocolate bar, and and it's weird because you still get hungry and you
Yeah.
still crave things. Like when you're sick, like, I don't know about anybody else, but like, I want soup and grilled cheeses. And for whatever reason, I kept craving pizza. And I was like, I'm not wasting calories on a pizza right now because I
That
can't
you can't
fucking taste
taste.
it. So, like, I have this chocolate bar and I'm on the phone with my aunt, and I'm like, all of a sudden I realize I'm eating it and I can't taste it. And I'm like, why am I eating this chocolate right now? This is a total waste of calories. I was like, and she was like, yeah, why are you eating that? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm hungry. It was the quickest thing I could grab.
Yeah. And you've been in your house by yourself. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, and then I kept wanting a Sprite Zero with like a cherry limeade from Sonic. Kept going and getting it. By the way, I pre-ordered it and I had a mask on. I was not inside anywhere, but I kept going and getting it. I'm like, why am I doing this? It literally tastes like water.
Mm.
It's like
So
drink
how long,
water.
so how long was it until it came back?
It's not bad.
It's not.
No, I'm 50%.
Mm.
Like this morning, I could kind of taste my coffee. And that was the first time was this morning. Like I can
Now,
kind of taste it, but it
I
doesn't taste
saw
right.
I saw where like on TikTok there's like things that you can try. I
I
can't tell
just
you what
don't
they
know.
are.
Well, I just don't know if that would work because like I've Googled like why this happens. And apparently
Hmm.
the virus attacks the olfactory nerve, which is your sense of smell. And then it can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for that nerve to regenerate depending on how much
Mm.
it damaged. So the nerve itself has to regenerate, I guess.
Yeah.
You would think I would know because I'm medical, but I don't.
Well, you know more than I do, so.
It's just a really weird, I can't explain it. Like the fact that something tastes nasty, but I can't taste it, but I'm like, oh, this is gross.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how medicine, like certain medicines are gross if like it gets stuck in your mouth when you're
Hmm.
trying to swallow a pill and like you get like fragments or whatever, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is chalky and gross. Like, even though I couldn't taste it, I was like, oh, good.
That just
So
shows you like
weird.
how much like our brain is involved in
Yeah.
how we taste and how we smell.
But it's funny also because, like, so obviously when I was sick, I wasn't showering. I wasn't the most hygienic person. Um, I couldn't taste my breath in the morning. Like, you know
Mm.
how, like, I was like, oh,
Hmm.
that's kind of cool. Couldn't tell if I stunk or not from not putting on deodorant or taking a shower. I was like, well,
Poor
there are some
cricket.
pros. Cricket loved me. She loved me being home. She laid on my chest. She followed me around. It was great. She
Oh,
loved it. But now we're back at work and blah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was my past 2 weeks. Um, yeah. And I was vaccinated. So I know people have asked me if I've been vaccinated and got COVID. So I was vaccinated, but I got vaccinated last December. So the new research out is saying that you're supposed to get a booster 9 months after
Booster.
your second one, which would have been September when I contracted COVID.
Oh,
So who knows? Who
well,
knows if I would have
shit.
got the booster if I wouldn't have got it, but I made it until I needed the booster. And I'm pretty sure I have the Delta variant. Obviously, that's the one that's going around.
Hmm.
We don't test for that. But yeah, that has been fun.
It's a good time.
I'm still a little nasally. I can hear it. Because I still like now I'm having that like thick mucus. I know this is really gross for the listeners, but it's like that thick mucus where it's like I feel like I have to go blow my nose every 2 seconds.
Hmm.
But I really think that now is my sinuses because I truly do get a sinus
Yeah.
infection every time this year.
So I do the same and you can like I sound whatever, but whenever the weather changes, it
Mm-hmm.
always messes with me and
Yeah,
like
and it's been
all the rain.
raining for like 2 days. So yeah. And another thing, so I've never done Instacart or what I don't know what it's called anywhere else. Maybe it's Instacart everywhere, but I've never done like the grocery delivery thing, but obviously I had to.
Hmm.
And something that irritates the shit out of me, this is why I like to do my own grocery shopping. It's like when you order fruit or vegetables or avocado, why are you bringing me shit that ain't ripe? Why are you bringing, if I order 4, like the 4 for $3, why did you bring me 1 avocado when I paid for 4? That was so annoying. I honestly was like, you know what, whatever. I just appreciate this service. But it was so annoying. I'm like, who doesn't know how to shop for fruit and vegetables? I guess
lots of people.
That's crazy to me.
Well, if you've never been taught or shown.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be shopping for other people if you don't know how to shop. Maybe that should be shopping 101. Maybe there needs to be.
That should be orientation.
Right. Orientation 101. Learn what fruits and vegetables are ripe.
Get the 4 fucking avocados.
Well, I have 4 avocados here. None of them are ripe. None of them. I've been out of avocados. I'm so mad. I don't know why I'm mad about it. I can't taste them anyways.
Well, if you have a paper bag, I think you can put them in a paper bag.
But they're big one. They're the big ones. So it's just it's taking on forever. So yeah.
Well, I want to back up to a couple weeks ago because we haven't talked about this. When we met the Bernards and we interviewed them and their wine company, Cote de Femme, I wanted to go over after we ended the podcast and we basically just hung out with them for a few hours.
Yes.
It was so much fun.
Speaking of that podcast, by the time everyone hears this podcast, that giveaway will be done, but we're doing our first giveaway, which ends tomorrow. But that won't matter to y'all listeners. But I just thought it was cool because Kristen instantly messaged me, called me, and took over that giveaway. She knows what she's doing because clearly this was our first giveaway. And we were like, what are we doing? We're just going to ship the wine. And she was like, well, legally you can't do that. And we were like, oh, okay, well. But she took over that. She's phenomenal. She was like, I'm so sorry you feel bad. And I was like, you know what? I don't feel good. Just take over this. Just, So yeah, I really like them a lot and I cannot wait to go back to their house, have more wine, which, speaking of wine, me and you would be having a glass right now. I'm not wasting my calories currently because I can't taste it. If I can't taste it, there's no point. Sure, I'll get buzzed, but that's not the point of drinking it. It's such a good, delicious wine. And I would totally have me a glass of rosé right now, but can't taste it. So
next time
we will drink the wine.
Mm-hmm. So we sat out on their back porch, which I believe Andy said was their pandemic project.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Alice in Wonderland theme.
Yes.
And
I loved it.
Incredible. And then, okay, what is it called? He taught you how to do the
oh God, I don't know what that's called.
You have the bottle of champagne and a sword.
Yeah.
And you break the top of it. I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember. And trust me, you don't want me to pronounce anything. You wait until you hear the podcast that comes out tomorrow with David. Still ain't saying his name right. He was trying to, the first whole 2 minutes of the podcast, I'm like, he's trying to tell me his name and I'm repeating him. And he's like, let's just move on. He was like, don't hurt yourself. And I was like, David, let's just be honest. I can't pronounce half the shit right in English. Why am I trying in Icelandic? Let's just quit. I left it in there. I said, I'm leaving it in there. Fuck, I don't care. It was a really good podcast. That I can't wait for everyone to hear that one tomorrow. He's a very interesting guy, and I can't wait for people to hear his story. So
I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, and I love his accent. Of course, I made him introduce the podcast in Icelandic straight off guard. I'm like, hey, you want to introduce the podcast in Icelandic? And he was like, I guess I'll put on a little theater here. He could have said whatever he wanted. He probably said, don't listen to this fucking podcast. I would have known. I'd have been like, that was great. That was wonderful.
Oh, that sounded great. Good job. It's all good.
Yeah. So there was that. Snotty nose and COVID and all. Nobody was harmed during that podcast. It was so funny. So I did not mean to interrupt you about your.
No, you're good.
So my friends are always like, you have to geotag or whatever on your Instagram post to get for whatever reason, people look at geotags. I never look at geotags on Instagram, but whatever. So when I posted a sneak peek on Instagram and I posted that I was in Reykjavik, and I'm probably butchering that, Iceland, one of my doctors messaged me and he said, are you in Iceland? And I said, no. First of all, I have COVID, and no, I didn't just fly to Iceland to do this fucking podcast. Yes, I have that kind of money. The podcast is doing so well.
Peace out, bitches.
It was so funny. I was like, what are you talking about? Am I in Iceland?
Oh, man. One day.
One day. No, I told him because his cousin, I think Ezra's his cousin, is having a baby soon. And so I was like, well, whenever, COVID does get better and you come visit your nephew, we'll have to actually podcast again in person. And I would like for that podcast, like if we ever do get a YouTube up and running, like I would love to do that because obviously I'm going to make him cook because he's a chef and, so.
Mm-hmm. That would be fun.
Back to what you were saying and how I got way off topic about I'm just going to Google that real quick.
Oh, yeah, what it's called. I have no idea. You did great though. I know. So you have to hold the champagne bottle and there's a seam in it, which I never realized there was a seam.
Okay. I'm going to try to say this.
Okay.
Sabrage.
I think that's close.
Sabrage.
Sabrage. Okay.
Sabrage.
I would believe it.
I said it so confidently. Sabrage.
Yeah. I mean, that's half of it.
We'll go with it. Anyways, That's what we did. That's what I did. He taught me how to do that. And I was shocked that the top actually came off the bottle. I was like, are you sure this bottle's not just going to bust?
Yeah. Yeah.
But whatever that champagne was fucking delicious.
It was fantastic. I love though when they were like, oh yeah, we know how to do this. And you were like, oh, that sounds fun. And he's like, well, let's get a champagne bottle. And I'm like, what? Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He was just like, sure. You want to try it? I have a sword. And I was like, what? Oh, but their house was really cool too. Like looked like straight up out of New York kind of vibes. Like didn't belong in Huntsville.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
Yeah. No, that was a good podcast. I can't wait to do more podcasts like that and just have more interesting people on, which I was supposed to have my friend Carol Ann from Winchester on today. She was supposed to drive down to Huntsville and we were going to podcast and go to lunch because we haven't seen each other in a really long time. But obviously we had to cancel that because I didn't want anyone, even though today's day 10, I still didn't want to risk it and get anyone sick. Yeah. So she's going to come down next week to talk about she's an artist and want to talk about her art and how she got into that and her backstory. Because I've known her since I came out of the womb. So
forever. Yeah.
So when she comes down, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but so like with me buying a new house and everything, I've tried to decorate and I tried to put up wallpaper the other day. And
the picture you sent,
I try to put up peel and stick wallpaper and I'll have to post all these photos when like I post like the episode airing. So they try to make it easy. Lauren did it in her studio. My hairdresser, Lindsay's done it in her studio and in her house. I follow this girl on Instagram who makes it look so easy. I try to do it, but I don't have a creative bone in my body, but I tried to do it and I just got so mad because it was just like a millimeter off and it kept wrinkling up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so of course, cause I didn't, do the like measuring that you're supposed to do. I should have been more, I should have just gotten help I'm just not a patient person. So I got like 1/4 the way down my wall and it's like doing great. And then it wrinkles up and then I'm trying to pull it back and I rip a little bit of paint off the wall and I'm like, fuck. And so then I'm trying to like smooth it back out. And then I get like halfway down the wall and it starts doing it again. And I just start like getting so mad that I'm just smoothing it all down with the wrinkles in it.
Yeah.
And then I just rip it real quick off the wall because I'm so mad. Ripped a huge ass piece.
Yeah, it was big.
Of a huge ass piece of what's it called? Sheetrock? Drywall off the wall. And I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I can't just paint over this. So then I have to YouTube how to fix the sheetrock, the drywall, whatever. And you have to like do this mud stuff and well, I did it and I fixed it and I painted it. But like if you get really close to it, you can see like the little lines where I didn't completely sand it very good, I guess. But anyways, with that story being told, I told Carol Ann about it because I was like, do I just want to buy the wallpaper again? Because wallpaper was expensive. It was almost $300 for this one little wall. And I was like, do I want to buy this again and like get some help? Or do I just want Carol Ann to paint a mural on the wall? Oh. So if she just paints a mural on the wall, then like later I can just paint over it and not worry about ripping and fixing and whatever. So she's going to look at the wall when she comes down to see if she can paint a mural to kind of mimic the wallpaper.
So one, I think you were really brave for trying to hang wallpaper by yourself. That's
I just didn't know how we could fit 2 people in a ladder in my bathroom anyways, because there's not enough room.
Well, when we hung it at the studio, like there's no way I could have done it by myself. And so me and Josh hung it, but like I was telling you, the one that I used, it's literally like a sticker that you can pull. Like I could go in there right now and pull it off and it would do nothing to the wall.
Well, that's how this one was too. And I'm sure it would have pulled off just nicely if I would have just been patient and did it slowly. But I got pissed and I ripped that bitch. Like you'll have to ask, like Dustin was here for part of it. And he was like, do you need help? And I was like, no. And I was like screaming and I ripped it. And he was like, I'm going to go. And I was like, okay.
I'm going to give that you would be best with your wallpaper.
I was sweating. I was like, that would be best. That would be best for you to leave.
Yep.
He did nothing. I was so mad. But yeah, so that was part of the past. That was like right before I got sick, like the week before I got sick. So yeah, that was fun times.
Fun stuff.
So yeah, that's all I have so far for the upcoming on the podcast. Like, we got to brainstorm. We got to get together and brainstorm while we drink our Côte de Femme wine. We'll just be drinking that deliciousness and spitting out some ideas to get some more ideas rolling for the podcast, I think. But other than that, I don't think I have anything else to share with anyone. Do you?
Same here. I feel like I'm just getting back into like normalness.
So. Same for me. So until next time, guys, this is just a catch up on our lives. If you were interested, you might not have been. Who cares? You listen to it, obviously, if you made it this far. So until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.